Hello, everyone, and welcome into this year's final edition of IceCats Insider. I'm Tom Callahan, joined by head coach Gary Graham, and we're here to break everything down, take a look back at the season, and boy, the incredible success of this PD IceCats team. And Gary, first of all, I just want to say congratulations on a great season. I know 2 wins short of the ultimate prize this year, but all in all, I mean, there's only 2 teams left standing at the end of it, and somehow the PD IceCats were one of them.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. It's been a real pleasure working with you, too. I think you've done a great job. Good hire for the organization. I know talking to the fans countless times, they really rave about what you do, and talking around the league, too. You know, obviously, you're very respected around the league for your professionalism. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, again, we set a lot of records as a first-year team. You know, we knew we were having a tough challenge, playing Athens. They had our number most of the year, but sweeping them was a surprise to all of us. And then, finding a way to beat Columbus, who was really kind of like it was a coin flip the whole year with us. They had us a little bit at the beginning of the year. We had them at the end of the year. And then it didn't surprise me. That went to 3, couple overtime games. And then I was really happy we got a chance to at least get one playoff win against Bingo on home ice. I thought that was awesome. We had great fans both nights, championship hockey. For the fans to get a win on that Friday night was really special. Fortunately, we couldn't get the job done with the 2-1 loss on Saturday, but they were just a better team on their home ice. We had a terrible game Friday, as we all know, just did not handle the momentum swings in the least bit. And we played a lot better with the lineup that we had on Saturday night. We had a long meeting. We had to change some stuff. We needed, the guys in the lineup Saturday that we knew could really buy into what we were going to do. And they did a really good job with it. And, we actually outshot them that night and outchanced them, and just they were opportunistic with their chances, Tom, and scored 4. We only scored 2.
And it's funny, Gary, you talk about really 3 completely different playoff series, but the fans, really, the momentum just kept building. And I mean, that last, game of the game 2 of the final, the place was packed. It was so loud. That was incredible. And congratulations to you, to the players, to the front office, everybody who's had a hand in building this. But I mean, what is that like for you to look up? And I know you say you don't look up much, but I mean, even just the feeling, the noise, just all of that in one place. What was that like?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, it's a lot of work that all kind of builds up over the course of the season, from the front office, ownership, to Nick and I, and then most importantly to the players. If the players weren't putting a good product on the ice and competing hard and being great in the community and interacting with the community so well, the support probably isn't as good as what it was. So, realistically, it's the players are the real assets of the team, and they did a great job. And the majority of the credit goes to them and the owners.
Well, it certainly was an incredible showing. I want to say thank you to the fans as well. A great showing by them. Gary, look, if you will, at the building process for this team, and talking about bringing in an inaugural season team to get them to where they did and go through all of that. What are the important things that go into building that team? I mean, how much of it is your hockey network? How much of it is just, kind of getting the feel of the FPHL and then the players and all of that? I mean, what's the process to build a championship caliber club?
Well, you can tell it wasn't built last summer. We did just as much building throughout the year as I did during the summer. And the challenging thing last summer, and this is what happens. We had an unknown product. Everything was unknown, and frankly, agents and usually top players and top recruits, they don't like the unknown. So, a lot of the guys that we went after during the summer and signed, they had good resumes and stuff. We tried to sign the best players possible, but, or we traded from them. And, they were coming from places where they weren't happy. And so that's always good. Then you get a guy that's going to be open-minded to maybe things don't start as well as what we all hope and expected, but they're still happy to be there, right? They want to be there. And then, we had to take some gambles on some guys with some questionable, maybe personality stuff, or, there's always some question marks maybe on certain things in terms of off the ice stuff. But, we don't have the luxury of really being able to maybe get exactly what you want, because you're still a new you're still a new team. And so that's your biggest challenge, Tom, right away. Now, we won't face those challenges this summer. We'll be able to really be able to kind of dial in exactly what we want in terms of building the culture that we want, which is, we want guys that are fully bought in, great teammates, great team guys, good in the community, and they're just good guys to be around each and every day. And, when we build a product like this with the attendance and we have great owners, and then, you have the success that you have, it makes my job a lot easier to go out and get those type of guys. And so the process of recruiting will be a lot easier this summer.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Gary, and I was actually going to ask you about that as well, because even during the year, I have to imagine, I mean, players talk, it's a small network. It's a very small circle. These guys are chatting with one another and talking about what they see, how it's going. I mean, word gets out.
Oh, it does. Like your guys are your best recruiters, but sometimes that guy that's helping you with recruiting is all of a sudden a guy that really doesn't fit with what you're trying to do. And that makes things uncomfortable. So, it's everybody, again, for me, the job of the head coach is to constantly be evaluating the team. And, again, it's not just about the stats. That's one thing that the fans got to understand is that there's a lot that goes into building a culture and a winning team. And, there's a lot of guys out there at all levels. And I've been at the higher levels, and I can tell you, there's a lot of guys that get a lot of points that, they're regular season guys, they don't get the job done in the playoffs, or there's just they cause too many issues in the locker room, and even though they produce a lot, it's too much of an issue to deal with. And you deal with that at all levels. And I think the one thing is moving forward, now with the season that we had, we'll be able to really kind of dial in. I can tell you, like, when we talk to college coaches and agents and stuff, and we get referrals on guys, one of the and then also when American League would call me when I'd be in the coast, they would ask about, the personality of a guy. And they would always say, is he coachable? Is he dependable? How is he in the room? I can't tell you how many times you get asked that question. Those are probably some of the most important questions. And, that's where this next year we'll be able to have the ability to check all those boxes that we want and get that right guy that can produce.
And Gary, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, you as a coach, it's not just X's and O's anymore. It's personality management. You're a sports psychologist. You're so many different things trying to get all these personalities to mesh. It's a lot different than it was 40, 50 years ago. As far as, nope, it's my way or the highway, and we just stick to our lanes, and this is what we do. I mean, it is really complicated.
It is, this year, I was balanced. It was a balancing act for me. It's, we had that slow start to the season, not a terrible first 5-game segment, but then we had that bad losing segment there. And, you're starting to see that the fans are excited and stuff. And, as a coach, you feel the pressure to deliver. You got to start delivering some results. And, we had to start making some moves and do those things. And, luckily, we made some moves that really, really changed our team for the betterment. And, there's several of them with Parker and Coles coming in, and Delisavito's a glue guy, and Lakoff Lakoff really was the MVP of the season for us. I mean, if you look at when he was going, we were going, and what he did as a rookie was unbelievable. And his ceiling is so high right now. And, if you watched him on Saturday night, he was finishing checks, and he got physical in the playoffs. And it was good to see that side from him, because, we didn't really see that element during the regular season. But, whenever that kid's on the ice, Tom, and you've seen it firsthand, a goal can happen. I mean, something creative, something high end, entertaining is going to happen. So, he was a big part of our turnaround when he came in. And, again, there's Xavier Abdallah, him coming in helped out big time. We, trade for guys like Robinson and Cox and Pizzamenti down the stretch. So, I think Nick and I, we started finding the right guys that were going to work in our system in the way we wanted to play. And that's why it ended up working out better for us at the back end of the season. Is I got a better feel for what we needed how the league worked, and now being through it now, for the whole year, now we get to return to guys that we want to return to, that are, the guys that we know that we can really start building around.
And I mean, too, for the fans who may or may not know, there are limits to the number of veterans. You have to have a certain amount of rookies. Like, those are all considerations too. It's not just as simple as player A is better than player B.
Yes, yeah, exactly. There's definitely rules that go to that, and then you got your salary cap, and some guys ask for money that frankly we just can't pay, and you got to go in a different direction. That happens quite often, and especially in single A hockey. So, there's only so much to go around. You got to work within the confinements of what you have in terms of allocation money and stuff like that. But again, we have some nice pieces. The exit interview process. I told the guys within the next week, I'll be reaching out to guys and seeing what their plans are. Some guys will be retiring. Some guys might be going to Europe. Some guys we don't want back. So there's there's a lot that goes into that, and then of course the recruiting calls. They've already begun. I've already been working the phones today.
And Gary, I was going to ask you about that without talking about any specific player. Give us an idea. What is an end of the season meeting like with you and generic player A? You sit down. What does that conversation involve?
A lot of times what it involves is, me giving the player feedback on thanking them for what they did for me, telling them, where I think that they can improve, what they need to work on during the summer, having a conversation about if I'm interested in bringing them back or not, if I'm going to go in a different direction. But even if I am going to go in a different direction, I'll still give that player some feedback on what I feel are their deficiencies and what they need to work on. And probably one of the more important things is just, what can we do as an organization to be better? How was the travel? How was the housing? Was your apartment up to the standards that you expect? Just different things like that. How were your equipment needs met? I ask them about, communication with our trainer, Michaela. How did everything go with Michaela? Is there anything that we can do, set things up better? Communication with Glenn, our equipment guy. You can look to try to find ways as an organization you always want to improve the next season. And you can improve not only through your on the ice product, Tom, but also you want to improve in other ways too, in other departments in your organization. So, and I advised, Mike Ronan, who's more involved on the hockey side of things as the three owners, to also, reach out and conduct an exit interview as to, what did the players like? What didn't they like? What could we do better? Post-game meals, was the bus travels, sufficient? Of course, all those things, we like to have all that information to where if there are ways that we can improve and it's within our budget to do it, we'll look into doing that.
We're chatting with head coach Gary Graham right now. It is the final IceCats Insider of the season, so we've got plenty that we are going to dive into here, talking about kind of the year-end routine. And now, so Gary, you mentioned you've already started your phone call process. I mean, you, depending on how you want to look at it, actually are behind a month or so for teams that didn't make the playoffs. It's funny. People might think, oh, coach is going on a vacation. Well, not necessarily.
Yeah. No, I'm sure the other coaches have been watching and studying and talking to college coaches and already getting a jump start. We already had our hooks into some guys that we weren't able to bring in from college immediately that I really liked. And a lot of those players during the playoff run, 3 of them actually were texting me all the time talking about, man, I wish I could have come down. I'm so excited for you, coach. This is awesome, blah, blah, blah. These are high-end Division III college forwards here. So, that's good. Now they're excited. They've been, staying in touch with me. And now, of course, I'm touching back today with them and making sure that they understand, hey, listen, you're wanted here. Let's talk about your future.
Well, that's an exciting time in a young man's life to kind of make that leap out of school to being a pro hockey player. And I guess you don't really think about the transition, but I mean, a good organization, not just the coaching standpoint, but I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to help those players, make them feel comfortable, and then therefore make yourself as an organization much more attractive.
Yes, for sure. And, I told the owners, we didn't, we didn't have really any call-ups this season, really. But I have a long track record of getting guys promoted and moving them up levels, and that's always helped me in terms of recruiting and with my relationships with agents and college coaches, and it's something I can always lean on because I have a track record of it. So that's something we'll definitely be doing and making sure. I would probably expect next year the type of higher end players I'm going to be going after. We'll probably see some more roster movement, not as much roster movement actually as what we had this past year in terms of, because I had to do a lot of construction, but just in terms of generally, I'd like to see some guys, get called up to the ECHL from our team that are good enough, to do that. And that's what I'm going to be trying to find and try to build that relationship where we have some guys go up and get some experience and come back and help us.
Gary, fans will occasionally say to me, whose name and number should I get on the back of my jersey? And my stock response is, well, get your own name and number on the back because you'll never be traded. You're never going to leave.
That's the answer I give everybody too.
But at the end of the day, I mean, that is the reality of minor league life, is that there's turnover. There's always going to be roster turnover. And I know some fans, you have your favorites, and especially you'll see guys who make this their home and stay here, but setting the expectation of, hey, I mean, in order to improve, there's going to be turnover.
Well, unfortunately, the biggest difference when you go from the NHL to the American League to the coast and then down to the single A level where we're at is, there's a lot of times there's reasons why guys are at this level. And sometimes it's not about talent. It's not about skill. It's a lot of time. It's just about, unfortunately, attitude and what we call buy-in. And, that's something that is an issue. I talk to coaches around this league a lot because the guys will be very talented. They'll be more talented than maybe, other guys around in the league. But, that's something you can't coach, unfortunately. Either you have it or you don't. And I think we had a really good group of guys this year. And that's what I enjoyed the most this year is, a lot of the guys that we brought in over the course of the season really fit in good, gelled well with our group. And, credit to our captains. And I thought when Lordo left, I thought Teamer was the perfect guy to put the A on. I'm sure you would agree with me. He did a great job coming into the leadership group. So, a big reason why we had the success down the stretch was because of those captains in that room. They were fantastic, and they invited every new player in with open arms, Tom.
I don't think I've ever seen a guy like Teamer, just same disposition every day, always seem happy to be there. Just really, I mean, if anybody exemplified, hey, I enjoy playing this game for a living, I think it was him.
If you could have a whole team of teamers, it would be unbelievable. I mean, literally the guy at his age, even when he was banged up, I had to beg him to ask me for a day off of practice. Like literally, I mean, the guy literally, I'd say, listen, take a day off. You can have a day off. And no, he's out there, man. And it's unbelievable to watch that. I mean, he's a guy that had every excuse to maybe ask me to not play a playoff game because he was banged up, or every excuse in the world to miss a practice or something like that. And he never did. And, those guys are so hard to find.
Well, and I mean, other guys around him see that and they take their cue from that. And I think that's the other thing too, that's important. As you mentioned, not only is it welcoming these guys, making sure the new guys feel settled and all that, but then you look at a Teamer Razilov over there who is either hurting or banged up or whatever, and just no quit, no rest. He just, nope, we're going out, we're practicing, and we're going to give it our all again here today. That's huge.
Well, our captains were all probably the most beat up, to be honest with you. Now we can talk about it. I mean, Michaela would tell you that between Gulls and Mags, and they were regulars on the training table down the stretch there. And then of course, we know what was going on with Huey with his foot. I still don't think it was ever 100%, but he made the most of it in the playoffs when he came back and after he missed some time with his lower body injury. And just again, those guys, they were warriors. They battled through everything, and I really appreciate them.
Head coach Gary Graham is our guest here on the final IceCats Insider of the Year. Stay tuned. We're going to come right back with more in just a moment. This is IceCats Insider.
Del Massimo Ristorante Italiano, where culinary passion meets the art of hospitality. Established in 2010, our restaurant was born out of a love for authentic flavors and a commitment to providing our guests with a memorable dining experience. At Del Massimo, we believe that food is more than just sustenance. It's a celebration of culture and community. Whether you're here for a cozy dinner, a festive celebration, we look forward to serving you.
Gorget is a local craft distillery based in Lugoff, South Carolina, producing rum, vodka, whiskey, and bourbon in small batches. Founded in 2015 by 3 local gentlemen, Gorget has a fine line of handmade, local spirits. No matter what you desire, we have something for you. Isn't it about time you revolutionize your spirit? Visit us online at gorgetdistilling.com.
At the Law Office of W. James Hoffmeyer, we strive to help our clients in whatever situation they are facing. Whether you need help with criminal law, personal injury, or family law, our hard-working team will assist you throughout the process with compassion and integrity. Our goal is to always provide our clients with outstanding representation and advocacy throughout their case. The Law Office of W. James Hoffmeyer, serving South Carolina since 1992.
Get ready to savor the flavors of our long-standing family recipes bursting with authenticity and love. Indulge in the vibrant colors and aromas that create a fiesta for your senses with every bite. Your journey through our menu is a delicious adventure guided by tradition and the freshest ingredients Mother Earth has to offer. Come join us at 842 Woody Jones Boulevard in Florence. Order online at margaritasmexicanrestaurants.com. Margaritas. Experience the love in every bite.
Welcome back on IceCats Insider. Tom Callahan, head coach Gary Graham. Wrapping up the season here. Gary, you're talking about, before the break, the guys who played through injuries. I imagine by the end of the year, everybody's at least something's going on. So how much of that goes into your decision, whether it's putting lines together, D-combos, deciding whether to dress a guy for a certain game, especially when you have a short playoff series? That's got to be really difficult knowing, especially in a best of 3, you really, is this player who's hurt better or worse than the guy behind him who maybe didn't play as much and might be 100% or 90% healthy? Those are tough decisions.
Yeah, that's your relationship with your trainer, and Michaela did a great job coming in. Her documentation, her work ethic with all the guys, keeping them healthy, and then communicating with me and then the players too. I try to really create an environment with the guys where they could be open and honest with me. And I think some guys are really scared to talk to their coach about injuries and being banged up and stuff like that. They're scared to come in and ask for a day off, or they're scared that, if they ask for a night off and they need to be in the stands, that, if a guy goes in and plays better than them, that they're going to lose their spot basically. And so, I've always told guys, like, you're never going to lose your job due to, being hurt. You know what I'm saying? Obviously other guys are going to come in and you're going to get rest, but I think, you got to have that relationship with your guys. And, I think the guys got that this year.
And also, I mean, from a standpoint of too, it's getting trust, as you say, with the training staff, with everybody around, to know that, not that they wouldn't have their best interest at heart, but I suppose some of, players may just be skeptical by nature. They may have been burned in the past. Like, it is a lot of building that relationship.
It is. And, unfortunately, were some horror stories with the Fed where, there's some guys just weren't taken care of good, and I think that's what scares some guys. And like, for instance, when we traded for Elijah Wilson, he came to us hurt. We, when I called him, he was shocked because, again, he was hurt. And when he got traded to us, I reassured him. I said, listen, you have time to get healthy. We believe in you as a player. As soon as you get into town, I'm going to have you go to the hospital. I want to get you scanned, get you looked at. And the first 2 days, he had been looked at by more doctors and more specialists than I think any time in any point of his career. And so it was a good first impression. And it also built that trust up between Eli and the organization that, hey, listen, kid, like, we got your back here. we're not going to force you. We don't want you playing in a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, we want the guys to have success. And, they're only going to have success if they know that you got your best interest in mind.
And that also goes, I mean, that's a nice way to say, kudos to not only Michaela and the staff around the team, but also the doctors and everybody, really the backbone of this organization. A lot of them are, partners and the folks who kept the guys going a lot of times.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Integrative chiropractic, those guys over there. And, the Orange Theory guys, XGen Cryo, McLeod Health and Fitness, and most importantly, MUSC, our medical providers. So, we had a lot of different resources this year for the guys, and we have more resources this year than any other team I've ever coached before in terms of taking care of the guys. And we had IV drips for the guys. I'm really feeling bad because I forget the name of the sponsor for that. I apologize. But the guys were set up nice this year. And of course, Michaela quarterbacked all that care.
Well, and that's the other thing. And you mentioned XGen Cryo, you mentioned Orange Theory, MUSC, all these different options and everything. And our fans hear this because, of course, if they listen to the games, they hear the commercials for all these different places. And I hope that our fans do, if you have a decision to make, you would consider our partner options. But, I can back that up, Gary, and say it's really impressive here to see the amount of care. And again, that's the ownership group saying, no, we want to treat the players the right way and make sure that they are indeed looked after and, in all aspects, on and off the ice.
Yeah, it's again, everything's first class down here. They've really set the table very nicely in terms of how they want to do things. And, they're all three. Here's the thing too. They're all three business owners and they run successful businesses, and they know, you get one first impression, right? And this year, with the help of the fans, the sponsors, all the great employees, and also obviously our players, we made a heck of a first impression. And that's what we want to do this year. Any business owner will tell you that. And now we got to back it up, right? So now we got to put our work in this off season here and come up with new ideas. I know Phil's got a bunch of new ideas for in-game stuff. We got new things in terms of advertising. New games in between periods. I'm sure you got some new ideas. I got some ideas. So, this is where the fun begins, is to just keep slowly growing the thing out.
Gary, I got to tell you a story. I don't know if I've ever told you the story, but way back when we were going through that 9-gamer, Nick Graham at about game 7 tried to blame it on me. He looks at me one time and he says, have we even won since you've been here? And I'm like, yes, Nick, you did. You won the first 2 games I was here. Then the skid happened. And he's like, oh, okay. All right. You could stay. But I had to laugh about that.
He's very superstitious.
He is.
Yes.
And so is our ownership group. A lot of these guys are very superstitious.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely have some too. But I being around Nick for a full year, I think he's worse than me.
Well, do you mind if I ask you about yours, or do you prefer to not talk about those?
Well, let me give you a weird example here. Okay.
Okay.
Like, this is the reason why I'm superstitious, because stuff like this happens to me all the time. The listeners will get a kick out of this. Okay. You want to hear a weird fact? Cause this is like probably a 1 in I don't know how many million. Okay. When I first started coaching pro hockey as a young assistant coach, I was a part of 3 straight championships. I just had a 3rd straight championship as a head coach happen to me.
Interesting. Well,
and also that was also, I've been in the finals now, 5 or 6 times. And that was the first time I've ever lost a final. So I did not feel good. I did not like that at all.
I guess they say things come in 3s, Gary. So maybe that losing was breaking the end of that streak. You can start a new one now.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping to do. So I thought I was thinking about it after we lost. I'm like, man, this is weird. I'm like, I've been a part of a 3-peat, and I was on the wrong side of another team doing a 3-peat on me.
I did save. I had one tie that had not lost yet this season. I did save it for game 4, and I tried. I did everything I could, but that tie unfortunately came up 2 goals short in game 4. So
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not a believer in the announcer's jinx. By the way, I just want to tell our fans that I've never won or lost a hockey game from the commentator's booth, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's one that you guys get a lot of blame for, isn't it?
Yeah, and when we did baseball games, this is going back a long time ago. I'm not going to date myself too much, but everybody, Gary, in baseball, I'm sure, and anybody who's a baseball fan knows, you don't talk about certain things. You don't talk about whether or not it's going to rain. You don't talk about having a fast game, and you certainly don't mention the word no-hitter. So,
Right.
So to prove to everybody that there was no announcer's jinx before every game this one year, I don't know what got it in my head, but as soon as right before we hit the air, I would say, all right, everybody, fast game, no rain, no hitter, let's go. And everybody would look at me horrified. But over the course of the season, guess what? Sometimes it rained, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes we had fast games, sometimes we had slow games. And that year I did see 3 no-hitters. So, you know, it happens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know you called baseball. What market?
So I did Elmira, New York, which was Northern Independent League baseball. I did some Augusta Green Jackets when they were in the South Atlantic League, and actually I think they still are. And then the last couple of summers, I did some Sunbelt Baseball League college woodbat, some stuff there.
Okay.
So, and actually, the only championship I've won as an announcer was with the Chocolaco Monsters of the Sunbelt League.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. Believe it or not, Gary,
Nice.
I tried to tell everybody who was around me, enjoy going to the final, because the last one I was in was, I believe, 2003. Like 2002 or 2003. So, and when I hear you, I've been there 6 times, like, must be nice. It's just so hard.
They all happened very early in my career. So, I mean, I hadn't been in one since 2013.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you do, and that was me, that happened early in my career. I was with a really good team in Elmira in the United Hockey League. Year 1, we just kind of squeaked into the playoffs, didn't do any damage. Year 2, absolute juggernaut, right through to the final. And it's funny, we actually swept the Fort Wayne Comets on our way to the final that year.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those things I look back at now and I think, man, I was spoiled. I just expected to be there every year with that team. And then all of a sudden I wasn't even with that team anymore. I was in the East Coast League down in Augusta, Georgia. And, you know, since then hadn't had the opportunity to go back. It really is a tough thing to do. And I say that hoping, you know, fans as well will recognize and understand it's awesome to see. And we all want to be there every single year, but man, is it hard.
Yeah, it's extremely hard. You got to have a good team and you got to have some luck. You know, that's the main thing. You got to have a little bit of puck luck on your side. And, you know, I thought, again, we had it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no doubt we had some puck luck. But when we scored that goal to tie the game in game number 2 in Columbus to put it in overtime with how many seconds left, you know, that's some puck luck.
Yeah. Yeah, twice. I mean, a combined, 90 seconds away from being eliminated. And, you know, you extend the game into overtime and both times win it. That was something. That was incredible. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed calling those games, so I can't imagine how much fun it was being on the bench for that.
Oh, those are the most exciting wins.
So, Gary, I'm going to ask you to look back a little bit here, and then in the next segment, I'm going to talk to you about your thoughts about team MVP and all that fun stuff. But looking back over the season, I mean, what moments stand out to you, good and bad? What are the things that you're probably going to remember about this season a couple of years down the road, if not more?
I think the Binghamton trip, you know, in January, that was to me, that still was the defining moment of the season where really things turned around positively for us. You know, that was pretty quickly after we had the Lakoff trade. You know, we started playing better hockey after the Christmas break. You know, we had the 3-3 with Danbury. We won 2 of 3, and then that next week we traded for Lakoff, and then just everything kind of, once we got Lakoff, everything just started going in the right direction. And just it gave us that depth that we needed in our top 6. And of course, you know, kind of got Frolov going because he was a little cold when we got him, and it also got Dennis, you know, really going, you know, with that whole line. So, you know, it really was a catalyst to a lot of different things that started getting on the right path. And of course, you know, getting our goaltending situation finally figured out, in the back half of the season, was huge. But yeah, that bingo trip was a special one. The bus rides home after the Athens, the Athens game one, and then I think the bus ride home after the Columbus series was probably the most fun I've ever seen a team have on the bus coming home from that game that we knocked out Columbus. That was a lot of fun for me as a coach.
And I imagine, I mean, the personalities of some of the guys on the team this year, you've always got, your pranksters and your jokers and the guys who keep it light. But I mean, Gary, the room matters. And I feel like this year there was just a pretty good mix of personalities, especially once you got your guys together. You know what I mean? I know early on you're trying to figure out how all the personalities fit.
Yeah, well, we had too many, and you could have this. We had way too many big personalities in the room early in the season. That was a big problem for us. And again, on paper, when we signed the team during the summer, and you look at all the potential with all the offense and stuff, I kind of knew there could be a problem with that, but also I had to try to make sure that we were protected in terms of, we knew we were going to have the hardest schedule in the league, and I needed to make sure we had enough offense to score. And so the problem was just a lot of guys, there just wasn't enough minutes to really kind of go around, and that's where, and then when that happens, guys start getting mad, and, we just had to start kind of realizing that this wasn't going to work, and we started kind of tinkering with some things, and it got better. But yeah, there's a lot to take from this season. A lot I learned.
Well, one of the things I like to say is there's only one puck. It's the old Brent Burns, Eric Carlson, when they were both on the same blue line in San Jose. There's only one puck. You can't split it in half.
Yep. And there's, typically there's only 2D that are going to play power play, and when one's not playing it that expects to play it, then you're managing that. And again, I think we had a lot of guys that we traded for and signed that were very good players on average teams. And so when all of them get here, everybody wants to assert themselves and be the guy. And unfortunately, not everybody can be the guy. And so that was the issue that we struggled with. And again, that's where the psychology of it all comes in, and trying to manage things and manage a lot of big personalities. So, I think over the course of the year, we figured it out.
Yeah, like I said in the first segment, I mean, you're part psychologist, you're part this, part that. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. And talking with head coach Gary Graham here, just for, another little while. It is the last edition of IceCats Insider. Gary, I wanted to ask, just for you, in your kind of, you say you learned a lot of things this year. I mean, is there anything in particular that might be a story worth sharing with the fans about, hey, this is something, whether it's something you maybe learned about the PD or the arena here, or the fan base, or just the organization, the league, anything that they might find interesting?
Geez, I mean, that's a loaded question, because I was learning constantly every day. I mean, it was challenging, very challenging at the beginning of the season, not only trying to get everything implemented with all these new guys to get everybody on the same page, but, we had a lot of ice issues early in the year, not with our ice, but with ice availability. So, we had we were going over to Columbia before you came, Tom. We were driving over to Columbia all the time to practice back and forth, and that was rough. I'm not going to lie. And it wasn't what I told the guys during the summer that it was going to be like. I knew we were going to have to go sometimes, but it was a lot more in the first 2 months than what me and Nick expected. And so again, you always want to be a man of your word. You're selling your program during the summer, and you don't ever want to be misleading guys to come to a situation. And so that was a little challenging early on, because you want to get off on the right foot with all these new guys. The only guy I'd really coached before was Houston Wilson. So and Diaz just a little bit, but you want to get off as a head coach on the right footing with all these guys. Because they got to trust you, and because I got to trust them, but they got to trust me. And so you're worried in that first month, 2 months is everything every day. You're not worried about the hockey side, but you're worried, do they have pots and pans in their apartment? Do they have washers and dryers? Do they have their laundry stuff? Do they have this and that? Because you're so worried that a guy is going to not be happy with your setup because we're a first-year team. And we knew things were not going to be perfect at the beginning. We knew that. But we were working through so many little, not problems, but just so many little details had to get cleaned up that first, 2-3 months. And probably for the listeners, if I'm being honest, it took away a little bit from the coaching side of things for me, because I was involved in a lot of that. And it took a lot of my attention and a lot of my thoughts to make sure that stuff was buttoned up. So the good news is all that infrastructure now is built up now. Everything's good to go. And so that'll be a lot less stress for me in that first, that training camp next year, in that first month, 2 months of the season.
Yeah. Again, all these little things that go into the first year of building a team. And, even literally it's building the plane while you're flying it. With the broadcast, it's the same way. I know with you guys down in the locker room, it's the same way, trying to figure out even ordering sticks and gloves and helmets and jerseys and making sure everything gets in on time, and tape, all those little things that you got to kind of iron out your process for. So it's certainly Gary, it'll turn the hair on your head gray sometimes trying to manage all that.
Or just for you, gray. For me, it just falls out, but that's okay.
Nice. There we go. Next year we'll see you. Are you going with the shaved head, big bushy beard? That seems to be the thing now.
Yeah, that seems to be the go-to, but I can't grow a beard, and I just I don't think I have the head for that. So I mean, I'm just gonna respectfully just keep losing it slowly and surely.
Okay, there you go. You can start wearing a fedora next year. We'll love that.
You'll never see me wearing one of those little stupid hats on the bench or something like that.
Oh,
that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah,
you have to embrace. You just gotta embrace everything in life, Tom.
Maybe we'll get you a cowboy hat.
No, just embrace it.
All right.
Yeah.
Gary Graham is our guest right now. We are going to take one more break here in the final IceCats Insider of the year. When we come back, going to get Gary's thoughts, and fans collect your thoughts as well. I mean, who would you pick for MVP and biggest surprise and all that fun stuff? I'll ask you a couple of fun questions as well. So stay tuned. We got more coming your way here on IceCats Insider.
The PD IceCats are lighting up the scoreboard, and Powers Properties is proud to be the official housing provider. Looking for an apartment? Powers Properties has you covered with modern apartments, convenient locations, and a team that puts you first. Just like the IceCats, we know what it takes to win, on and off the ice. Score big with Powers Properties. Relax, you are home.
Known for his integrity, attention to detail, and client-first approach, Sean Austin builds lasting relationships based on trust and results. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer, a seasoned investor, or looking to sell your current home, Sean combines local expertise with strong negotiation skills to deliver a seamless experience from start to finish. Austin and Associates at RE/MAX Professionals. Your next address is just a slapshot away. Go IceCats!
Welcome to Seminar Brewing, where craft beer meets culinary delight. Located at 551 West Lucas Street in the heart of Florence, we offer an unforgettable experience for beer enthusiasts and food lovers alike. Pair your favorite brew with our mouth-watering menu. Our kitchen serves up everything from savory snacks to hearty meals, all crafted to complement our beers perfectly. Seminar Brewing. Taste the difference that local passion makes.
Southco Commercial Curb Appeal is the trusted partner for businesses in Florence and surrounding areas that want to maintain a clean, safe, and attractive commercial properties. With our wide range of services, from sweeping and landscaping to snow and ice treatment, we're here to ensure your property remains in pristine condition all year long. Southco Commercial Curb Appeal. Experience the difference.
For more than 85 years, Tomlinson Sales Company has proudly served customers across South and North Carolina. As a proud partner and the official outlet store of your PD IceCats, stop by to check out exclusive IceCats merchandise, plus an ever-changing inventory that makes Tomlinson a must-stop destination. Visit them at 1309 East Palmetto Street in Florence and discover the PD's hometown store. Tomlinson Sales Company, where great service, trusted brands, and community pride come together. That's Tomlinson Sales Company, 85 years strong and still serving the Carolinas.
For 20 years, we've captured more than weddings, we've captured legacies. The laughter, the tears, the moments that last a lifetime. Every glance, every vow, every I do, preserved in stunning cinematic detail. Because your love story deserves more than memories, it deserves to be a film that lives forever. Something to remember wedding productions. 2 decades of love stories, beautifully told.
Back here on IceCats Insider, Tom Callahan, Gary Graham, as we go to wrap things up on the year. Gary, before we get into asking some of those fun questions I teased before the break there, just, your thoughts that you might want to share with the fans and everything, the way things went this year for this team, this region, the PD is a region, and the return of hockey here to Florence.
Well, first off, there was about 100 fans that were waiting for us yesterday, as you know, about 9 o'clock at night, 9:30 on a Sunday night when we got back. I thought that was extremely awesome to see from the fans. They just, I wasn't even expecting it, to be honest with you. And when we rolled up last night and I seen them all cheering for the guys, it made me very proud. I was happy for the guys because, the wound is upset and sad. And, you know how it goes in pro hockey, Tom. This team will never be assembled again, ever.
Right.
It never is. And so that group got tight and a lot of them will they'll never see each other again. They're going to go in different directions in their life. And, but now they have that brotherhood bond for the rest of their life, right? Which is probably one of the neatest things about hockey, is just how tight the guys get over the course of the year, especially when you go deep in the playoffs and you're really, really, really going to battle deep. That bond that they formed is very tight. And, but back to the fans, again, what's more to be said? They set all kinds of records this year. And I think it's just going to keep getting better and better. I really do. I think the ownership has the right vision to how to get the attendance growing even more. I think the ideas, marketing stuff, in-game ops stuff is going to be really neat. And I think they have an understanding of what the fan really wants. I think sometimes in minor league sports, these older markets, it gets a little stale. They quit trying to do anything new to try to, maybe get maybe a new segment of a fan in, a new demographic, maybe a younger fan. So they're scared because they're catering to the older season ticket holder base. I've seen markets do that. Whereas these guys are, they're studying what other teams are doing. They're studying what good is working. They're calling other leagues and they're networking with other owners. And Phil is constantly trying to look at what other barns are doing in arenas and how can we do this? And then that message goes down into Rex and his team is, can we do this? Is this lighting? Is this something we can do? And so, they're just going to keep working at it. And that's going to be awesome to see.
All right, Gary, I want to ask you, you kind of answered the first question already earlier on in the show, but for those who missed it, you kind of said that Alex Legkov you felt was team MVP. Is there anybody else you put up there with him, or is that going to be your final answer?
Well, I think the reason Lakoff is just because, again, when he came in is really what it turned around for us. And again, that's not to take anything away from the other guys that were producing and stuff this year. But, for him, what happened was he was a type of guy that makes players better around him, and that is something that maybe the fans don't understand is that you have players that are individual players that are individually talented. But then you have guys that are not only talented, but they make all the guys around them better. And if you look at what happened with Frolof's production and Dennis's production, once Leggy came in, it was an accelerator. And that's why I consider him the MVP is because he not only did he accelerate his own production and had Rookie of the Year numbers, just very deserving of that award, but also is what he did to make the guys better around him. And that's really what an MVP does. And, an MVP, he shows up, when the games matter the most, in the biggest games of the season, in the playoffs, he's going to show up. He's in the lineup. He's he's competing, he's battling. And even though I know he's not probably happy with not scoring the last couple games, he still, showed me a side of him that, I didn't see all season, and that was that, that physical side. He was getting into scrums. He was taking a lot of contact. He was finishing checks, and that's good for him because, again, he's a young player. He's got a high ceiling, and he's got to be better defensively. He's got to be better away from the puck. He's got to get a little bit more physical. And if he does those things, the future is bright for him.
Well, that's part of being a young player in the game, right? Is there's always, I mean, even an older player in the game, there's always something to learn.
For sure. And then, the thing is, some guys want to learn, and some guys are just stuck in their ways. And that's minor league sports in a nutshell. Whether it's a single A level or a double A level, you can give them all the information in the world, but you can't lead a horse to water,
Yep, absolutely. All right, who's your defensive MVP this year?
Oh wow, it's got to be Teamer. You get it. His stick details were tremendous. Again, just an absolute perfect example for the young guys in the locker room of what a pro player looks like. I mean, literally his routine's the same all the time. He's first guy on the exercise bike, when he gets in the morning. He's got his routine, and that's what older guys, the older guys have been playing a while that stay in shape and that are as durable as Teamer are. It's about their routine. Routine is what makes them, they keep the same routine, same diet, same everything. And they know what works for him. And he did a great job. He knows what works for him. And again, his first year in North America playing, that's the other thing too. You never know how that's going to be for a defenseman like him at his age. And wow, did he impress the crap out of me.
Who is your biggest surprise out of everybody that came through this year?
Oh, let's see here. It's a good question. Good question. Good question. I would probably have to go with Colgs. And the reason why is I know he wasn't with us a tremendous amount of time, but this is a credit to Nick Graham. Nick Graham knew Colgs. I didn't know Colgs. I didn't have a lot of time when we made that trade to do a lot of research on him. And, he was playing for not a very good Watertown team this year, and his stats were frankly awful. And I was very concerned. But Nick said, listen, I know this guy. He's a gamer. He started telling me about, the fact he's got, I think, FPHL, high quality wins, playoff wins, when he was with a good team in Columbus, what he did. And, when he filled me in and all that stuff, I was like, yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it makes sense. Then let's go with it. And, it was tough because we already had Sales and Kuhn, and that was going to be difficult because I loved all those guys, and Parker was playing really good. But I had never my wildest dreams did I know that he was that good of a goalie until he came and started to really show me what he could do. So, without Colgs, we don't get to where we're at. And so I'm going to go with Colgs.
All right. Who was the most under the radar or underappreciated this year?
Probably Popoff. And the reason I say that, I know the fans appreciate him, but maybe they appreciate him not in a way that maybe they understand. It'd probably be him and Gullo. Him and Gullo are what I call glue guys in a room. They bring things to a locker room that can't quite be, you can't monetize it. You can't really quantify it or anything. It's not in a hockey analytic or anything like that. But, those guys bring something that, Gullo has a way of saying the right things at the right time and having a great sense of humor and able to, I can coach him hard and he can take it. He can help the young guys and say the right things in a room and sell my message well. And he's just a very funny guy too in a room. And he was just very good about keeping everything tight and together in there. It's like I said, so did the other captains, but I don't know. Mags, of course, wearing the C gets that credit, but maybe Gullo doesn't get enough credit. That's what I mean. And then Pops, with him, he's just such a big, funny character, and what he does for us when he's in the room, and even when he's not in the lineup, when he gets the boys going before, and he was basically our main fighter this year, and stood up for a lot of guys all year long and got us momentum when we needed it. And I thought his hockey really improved this year compared to the previous season. His play improved a lot. And, those two guys would probably be the ones that, I feel like are glue guys, and that they meant a lot more behind the scenes to our team and our locker room than maybe what a lot of the listeners would understand.
I always love, having those insights like that and giving the fans that little bit of a peek. And so here's another one, Gary, in your opinion, because we know this is subjective, who had the best sense of humor?
Man, we had a lot of good sense of humors, but Gullo, Della Savita would probably be the first two. I would say Della Savita, and then probably Gullo.
Now, I did hear a couple of, and I wanted to ask you about this. A lot of people said, believe it or not, Dennis Zajic was pretty funny.
But yes, see, Dennis never showed me that side of him, because this is the way Russian players, Belarusian, when they come from over there, the relationship as they're raised over there is to be scared of the head coach. Respect the head coach. Coaches everything, blah blah blah. You can't have that relationship with your head coach. That's the way that they're raised over there. That's not the way that American players are and Canadians are like that way. Like I can have, like, the guys know I love to have fun. I'll make fun of myself just like the next guy will. I like to joke around and have fun, and once the guys realize they can do that, then everybody's on the same page. But he never really showed that side of me. But when I look at those game day photos, I can tell that he's got a funny personality.
Love that. All right. And last one, Gary, who, in your opinion, on this team will make the best future head coach?
Oh, very good question. Oh, man. That's good. Well, with the way that the generation is going, the younger players and how they, how they like to, how they want to be coached and frankly coddled. I think you got to have a certain temperament for coaching nowadays, for young coaches getting into it. I feel like Gullo will probably be that guy. I could see him getting into a junior hockey team and starting to coach. And again, I think Houston eventually he's going to get into coaching. I think he'll do very good too. He's very good with the youth.
All right, well, Gary, this wraps up our season on IceCats Insider, you and I together. I want to say thank you to you because you've been tremendous to work with, and not every coach understands the needs of the broadcast side, and so thank you to you for being that open and understanding to everything all year. And I just wanted to ask you, any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Yes, I changed my mind too. I got one more coach.
Okay.
Teamer's going to make a heck of a coach. He's going to make a heck of a coach. I feel like he's going to get into coaching, and I think that he will do very good just because of his temperament, his attention to detail, and he's got a real thirst. He's got a real thirst for knowledge, and that's important. A lot of guys think that they know it all already, and none of us. I've been coaching 25 years. None of us know it all.
Well, amen to that. We're always going to be learning, that's for sure. So, all right.
Yeah.
Anything you want to leave us here with, Gary?
No, just hope all the listeners enjoy their summer. And, again, it's a time for everybody to get better. And, of course, I would say, the guys will be sticking around a little bit. They'll be at the thing tomorrow night. So the fans, if they want to come and say goodbye to the players, they'll be there. But, the guys need their space during the summer. Let them be them. Let them go home, and everybody will be excited. The guys that do come back, they'll be excited to see all you guys next fall.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our final edition on the year of IceCats Insider. A successful year in so many ways, and so much more to look forward to for next year. My thanks to not only head coach Gary Graham, but absolutely everybody who's taken the time to be on the program this year as well. And our thanks, as always, to you guys, the fans, for tuning in, watching the games, listening, showing up at Florence Center. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you so very much for being a part of this final broadcast here. And we'll talk to you next fall. This is Tom Callahan for Gary Graham saying thank you, and you've been listening to IceCats Insider.